Hello everybody, it is Mike Levin on April 15th, 2022. And I just wanted to get this video out here. I'm outside, so you'll hear the wind in the background. Windows is pushing pretty hard for that Windows 11 upgrade. Now what I'm worried about is losing this transition effect left and right. And I wanted to shoot this video having this nice clear screen to really show how much I've stripped away from Windows 10 to make it feel comfortable. You only have to look at the one thing for my screen recording software, but you see my most common apps that generally reflect the order that I run them, at least the first few positions in my virtual desktops are always presented here like that. And another set of apps that I use less frequently, I put on the Windows menu bar here. And that is a nice clean starting point. And then I run my terminal on the first screen. You'll see it goes full screen. And it's surprising, but that animated effect is very important in the workflow. It's taking a little while for that prompt to come up. That's very interesting. I'll take this as an opportunity to show you one of the habits you'll get into. Well, first of all, this is full screen and is very focused mode. I'll do a Windows tab key to show you how it's just, a full screen app on virtual desktop 1. You can go left and right like that or do other forms of tab switching. Some people are still in the habit of Alt-Tab, and that'll let you switch through things by the program or application instead of the virtual desktop. Not my thing at all. I've given that up ever since the virtual desktops came along. It's just a much more natural interface for me to switch between tasks. So once you have Linux on your machine, and that's a direction I'm going with a lot of these tutorials I'm giving, I'm going to show you all how to get the Windows subsystem for Linux here. And on your Windows 10 or 11 machine, on Windows 10 there's a few steps. You have to do this, you have to do that. On Windows 11, it's, I believe, just WSL space -- install. I believe that's it. I'll correct myself in the next video if I'm wrong, or in a later video. But now that I have Linux on my machine, every once in a while you want to do the equivalent of a system patch or upgrade a day. So it'll tell you if there's new things waiting for you. More than a week old, okay? So we go sudo apt update. And that first command updates your local repository of software because, all Linux distros these days, not all of them, that's an overgeneralization, but most popular versions of Linux these days come with a software repository. Ubuntu, which is based on Debian, more so than most. That was like their whole thing, the software repository with the conflicts, with the dependency chains worked out. So that's what this is updating. If you were on CentOS or one of the Debian versions, it'd be approximately the same thing. Sudo apt upgrade. Now we'll upgrade any local software based on the new repository info. Maybe go a little smaller on my font size so that it doesn't have as many line breaks as it upgrades everything. Quite a few things. Yeah, these are not normal parts of the Linux install. There's some big pieces there because I'm keeping, the Linux version of Google Chrome on my Linux, on my Windows subsystem for Linux because I do Chrome automation headlessly. So it's just like running a crawler using the requests library or something like that, except there's a full browser there and you have access to the entire DOM as a rendered JavaScript web browser. That's becoming more and more the subject of my SEO work these days. And I move things from Jupyter. While this is going on, I guess I'll show on screen 2, I almost always run Jupyter Lab. And I am now on the desktop version of Jupyter Lab, meaning I don't get this through Anaconda. It's not an Anaconda install that gave me my Jupyter Lab. I actually ran a .msi file, a Microsoft installer file for Windows, and I got it from GitHub, a GitHub page from Project Jupyter. The requirements, yeah. So I have some interesting stuff going on here with checking what your installed pip versions are, and then listing everything that's outdated, and then writing out the requirements.txt file so I can always revert to the version numbers that I had installed, and then going through a loop to perform the upgrades. And then after the upgrade is over, reporting on what versions have been held back. This is all part of having a very deep understanding of the system you're running on. And so there you have, Linux on screen 1, and I'll be talking a lot about Vim in the coming, weeks, months, rest of my life. And that's where I run Vim, typically in my journal. And, Vim journal. So I do my keyboard shortcut for a new journal entry, and this is where I do my journaling. I get my daily Vim exercise. So the point here is that Vim is not just for coding. It's important to understand that Vim is a way of life. You will eventually think in Vim. Jumping the cursor around, navigating, and going in and out of insert mode, and other happy things. The most common mistake will be getting eyes in there accidentally because, getting yourself into insert mode when you're already in insert mode. It's those eyes. So that's a signature of a Vim user who is being sloppy. Anyway, this is about all. I want to really point out this screen transition in particular for my 3 different screens. I live by this now. It'd be very difficult for me to not have journal, Jupyter, and browser. 3 in a row. First 3 screen positions, and then the rest of them, generally up to an additional 4 screens for a total of 7 as workspaces. I'm not religious about that. I add and delete them, but this general workflow works. Windows, PCs, Macs, all variations of Linux, popular desktops, and I highly advise it. This is where we're going with my video series, sort of a purpose, helping get you onto Linux, Python, Vim, and Git. Actually pushed out my tech story, which is a pretty big deal for me because it's sort of a book I am working on, but not really. Better visual language. More, infinite scroll friendly. You know how people just love that infinite scroll these days, so it's sort of calibrated for the times, for those who are for seekers and journeyers looking for something. Surprisingly, that something can be found in some old school tools. And then I guess that's about it. I end there. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon, and don't forget to subscribe.